There is a strange reason many people fail to save money. It is not always low income. It is not always debt. It is not even a lack of discipline. Often, the real problem is that money disappears before the mind fully notices it. A meal ordered because the day felt difficult, a subscription forgotten for months, a purchase justified as a reward. Each decision seems harmless. Together, they form a quiet leak. Japanese households developed a simple defense against this invisible loss. It was called Kakeibo, a household money book. Its power did not come from complex mathematics. It came from forcing every expense to pass through awareness, and that is the unsettling secret. Kakeibo does not merely help you record spending, it changes the person who spends. Long before modern budgeting apps, merchants in Edo, Japan understood that wealth could vanish through carelessness faster than it could be earned through trade. Their shops were filled with rice, cloth, oil, paper, and tools. Yet the most important object was often a ledger. Inside it, every sale, obligation, loan, and expense was written by hand. The ledger was not decoration. It was memory made visible. An Edo merchant could not afford to trust emotion. A prosperous week might create confidence, but rent, inventory, taxes, family duties, and future uncertainty still remained. Good judgment required seeing the whole picture, not merely the coins in the drawer. This created a culture of careful accounting. Money was counted before it was celebrated. Obligations were considered before comfort. The future was given a place at the table. Kakeibo inherited this spirit. Imagine a household with enough income to survive, yet never enough money left at the end of the month. Nothing dramatic has happened. There is no single disastrous purchase. The problem is smaller and more dangerous. The family spends without remembering. They buy what feels necessary in the moment. They confuse convenience with need. They promise to save whatever remains, but nothing remains. Then the household begins keeping a Kakeibo. At the start of the month, income is written down. Fixed obligations are listed. A savings amount is chosen before discretionary spending begins. Every purchase is then placed into a category: needs, wants, culture, or unexpected costs. For the first time, spending is no longer a blur. The method appears almost too simple, yet simplicity is precisely why it works. Modern consumer psychology is built around speed. One-click payment, stored cards, automatic renewals, and invisible digital transactions reduce the moment of hesitation. The less friction a purchase creates, the less likely the mind is to examine it. Kakeibo restores friction. Writing an expense by hand creates a pause. Naming its category creates judgment. Reviewing it later creates memory. What was once automatic becomes deliberate. Human beings feel the pain of payment less intensely when money is abstract. Cash leaving the hand feels real. A number changing on a screen often does not. That emotional distance makes overspending easier. The account book closes that distance. It asks 4 uncomfortable questions. How much money do you have? How much would you like to save? How much are you actually spending? And what must change? These questions are not complicated, but they remove the hiding places people use to avoid financial truth. The deeper principle is not budgeting, it is self-observation. Zen practice often begins by noticing what the mind is doing without immediately obeying it. A thought appears, a craving rises, an emotion demands relief. The disciplined person does not pretend the impulse is absent, they simply refuse to become its servant. Kakeibo applies the same discipline to money. A desire can be written down without being satisfied. A purchase can be delayed without being forbidden forever. An uncomfortable feeling can exist without being treated with spending. This matters because many financial decisions are emotional decisions wearing practical clothing. Once the motive is visible, choice becomes possible. Edo merchants understood opportunity cost even if they did not use the modern term. A coin spent on display could not purchase inventory. Money used for immediate pleasure could not protect the household during a fire, poor harvest, illness, or weak trading season. Every coin had more than one possible future. A dollar spent today cannot also become part of an emergency reserve. It cannot reduce debt. It cannot be invested for 10 or 20 years. It cannot support a future business, education, home, or family. Kakeibo forces the spender to see the abandoned future behind each purchase. This does not mean rejecting all pleasure. Japanese minimalism is often misunderstood as deprivation. Its deeper purpose is selection. Keep what serves life, remove what distracts from it. A meaningful meal with family may be worth more than several forgotten purchases. A book studied carefully may offer more value than entertainment consumed automatically. Quality can matter more than quantity, and intention more than price. The goal is not to spend as little as possible. The goal is to stop spending without awareness. Modern budgeting often fails because people create rules for an imaginary version of themselves. They plan to cook every meal, avoid every impulse, cancel every comfort, and maintain perfect discipline. One mistake becomes an excuse to abandon the entire system. The budget was too rigid, so the person concludes that budgeting itself does not work. Kakeibo offers a different approach. It treats each month as an investigation. Where did money go? Which purchases brought genuine value? Which expenses were caused by boredom, stress, convenience, or social pressure? What can be adjusted next month? There is no need for shame. Shame hides information. Observation reveals it. This makes the method useful for long-term investing as well. Investing begins before money reaches a market. It begins with the ability to create a consistent surplus. Without that surplus, compounding remains an idea rather than a practice. A household that saves irregularly depends on motivation. A household that saves before spending depends on a system. Systems survive moods. This is one of the quiet lessons of merchant families. Wealth preservation was rarely the result of one brilliant decision. It came from repeated habits, accurate records, controlled expenses, patient reinvestment, modest living, and preparation for uncertainty. At the beginning of the month, write down expected income, subtract fixed obligations, decide on a realistic savings amount, and treat it as an obligation to your future self. Do not merely write shopping. Be specific. Food purchased from hunger is different from food purchased from stress. A necessary replacement is different from an upgrade driven by comparison. At the end of each week, review the entries calmly. Look for patterns, not isolated mistakes. Perhaps convenient spending rises after exhausting workdays. Perhaps social media creates desire for things you never previously wanted. Perhaps small subscriptions consume more than expected. Perhaps the problem is not luxury, but repetition. Reduce one category. Add one waiting period. Cancel one unused expense. Move one amount automatically into savings. Small corrections are easier to repeat, and repetition is where financial identity changes. At the end of the month, ask what your spending reveals about your priorities. Money is not only a financial tool, it is a record of attention. Wherever it repeatedly flows, life slowly follows. The account book therefore becomes more than a budget. It becomes a mirror. It shows whether you are living by intention or reacting to pressure, whether you are building security or purchasing appearances, whether your future receives the first portion of your income or merely whatever survives the present. No notebook can force a person to become wealthy, but it can force a person to stop looking away. Not control through punishment, control through awareness. The disciplined household does not save because every desire has disappeared. It saves because desire is no longer allowed to make decisions in darkness. A single recorded purchase changes almost nothing, but repeated for months, the habit changes behavior. Repeated for years, it creates surplus. Invested patiently, that surplus gains time. Protected across decades, it can become stability for people not yet born. This is how ordinary discipline becomes compound wealth. Money rarely disappears all at once. It leaves quietly through decisions too small to remember. So the path to keeping it also begins quietly. One page, one honest number, one deliberate choice, and the courage to give tomorrow a claim on what you earn today.